We're going to go ahead and get started. I'll start with Carson Roberts first. He is a PhD student under Drew on the Mississippi State side, and I'll let him go ahead and get started.
All right. Thanks, Amanda. What are the limits of this camera? Is it like just the podium thing?
It's mainly between the screen. It has the edges.
The screens.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Like Amanda said, my name is Carson Roberts. I'm a PhD candidate at under Drew. So today I'll be talking about using cover crops and their effects on soil moisture and irrigation water use. I have a bunch of great people working with me. Some of them are listed there. Okay, so this is a map of the percentage of irrigated acres across the United States. Inside that box where that big green patch of irrigated land, that's what's formerly known as the Mississippi Delta region. Very intensively farmed, very intensively irrigated. Underneath that is the Mississippi River Valley alluvial aquifer. That's basically the reason why NCAR exists is because of the water issues. A lot of those surrounding the depletion of this aquifer. And so we're looking at a lot of different ways that we can use less water in irrigation, and a lot of ways that we can manage this aquifer. But today, what I'm going to focus on is using conservation systems to reduce irrigation water use. So conservation systems, that's stuff like no-till and cover crops and whatnot. But in other parts of the United States, I've found that water infiltration can be improved with cover crops and no-till. In Mississippi and dryland cotton, they found that lint yields can increase using cover crops in an abnormally dry year when there's water limitations. And another thing that I often like to point out is that irrigation can mask the benefits of good soil quality. Basically meaning you can irrigate yourself out of a lot of issues, a lot of those surrounding soil health. So I like to show this graph. This is the NCCPI Ag is a measure of soil quality, and this is across a few different states. And you'll notice in states like Kentucky and on up through Iowa, as the soil quality improves, so does the yield. Except for the people in Nebraska. What are they doing? They're irrigating. So you can produce a really high yielding product on really marginal soils by using irrigation. And so that's how we can, with poor infiltration rates and whatnot, that's how we can still produce really high yielding crops. Okay. So our objectives of this study are to find a conservation system that's viable in the Mid-South and to determine if we can save water through the use of conservation systems. My hypothesis is that cover cropping and tillage reductions can reduce the need for irrigation water. Okay, so in my study, I have 7 different cropping systems. What I call the reduced till treatment is basically common practice around here with disking and subsoiling in the fall, followed by winter fallow, and then planting into a stale seed bed in the springtime. And then I have strip till, winter fallow, strip till in the springtime before planting, strip till with a cover crop, strip till with a subsoil in the fall and a cover crop. No-till winter fallow, no-till with a cover crop, and no-till with a minimal surface disturbance subsoil and a cover crop. And I'll get to that in a second. And the cover crop that we're using here is blend of cereal, rye, and hairy veg across all treatments. Okay, so minimal surface disturbance subsoil, that's this implement right here. This is a KC Colotil, and it really does a great job at eliminating subsoil compaction without disturbing the surface very much. This is a great implement if you're trying to get into some of the conservation practices, and compaction is a big issue. Okay. Here's some pictures of some of the treatments. On the top left is a picture of my reduced till treatment, basically full tillage in the fall. And then on the top right, that's a picture of no-till winter fallow. Bottom left is a picture of a cover crop system. And then I have a picture of a spring strip tillage pass. Okay, here's some pictures right after planting with the cover crop in both strip till and no-till, strip till being on the left. And you'll notice that the crop grows up through that biomass pretty well. And across all, we just collected biomass last week on this trial, and across all 3 years, we've had at least 4,000 pounds per acre of biomass in dry matter. So we're producing a lot of biomass in this study. Okay, on to irrigation. So with our irrigation system, we can irrigate each plot individually, and that allows us to do a lot of stuff as far as the statistics with the water we apply. And we're using flow meters to measure the amount of water applied. And we're scheduling irrigation in each plot based on soil and moisture sensors. These are watermark soil moisture sensors, and they're placed at depths of 15, 30, 60, and 90 centimeters in each plot. And we're using a trigger of between 80 and 90 kilopascals for that. And this is on a dove silt loam soil in Somerville, Mississippi. Okay, a few housekeeping things, I guess. This is 7 treatments with 3 plots. These are large plots. They're 8 1-meter rows by 500 feet long. And then I'm using subplot for yield, and I'm doing my statistics in R. Okay, here is a graph of the precipitation for the past 2 years in each of my treatments, or in each of the years that I've done this study. So in the first year in 2021, it was really wet. And because of that, we didn't really need to irrigate a whole lot. We only irrigated 1 treatment one plot the entire year. And then in 2022, the precipitation followed almost the normal pattern for precipitation in the area, and we did have to irrigate that year, so it's a good thing. Okay. Biomass. So if you watched my presentation before, this is some new information, so I'm kind of excited about it. So here's the biomass for the past couple of years. And one thing I want to note here is these 2 treatments in 2021, they did not receive a fall herbicide application. And so the winter annual weeds were allowed to grow over the winter time. And so that's why biomass is high in 2021 and low in 2022. And that affects our results a little bit. So in 2021, here's our a snapshot of the soil moisture in the field. You'll notice that the conventional, the reduced till treatment is way higher in sorry, I'll back up. Way lower in soil moisture than the rest, because the watermark sensitive attention base, the higher the number, the drier the soil. So that treatment is way higher, way drier than the other. And you'll notice that these 2 treatments, I highlight these because in the future that will change because of the change in biomass. Okay. And here is yield for that year. The conventional treatment out yielded most of the other treatments. I have a few theories as to why that is. Mostly concerning plant density. As far as our planting goes, we didn't do the greatest job, and we could have done a better job anyway, but we fixed all that in 2022. So 2022, here's our soil moisture result for 2022. You'll notice the conventional treatment still has a really low soil moisture, but the strip till and no till with winter fallow also have a fairly high soil moisture. And when you compare all of the cover crop treatments with all of the non-cover crops treatments, you'll find that there is and this is using contrast, so there is a significant difference in soil moisture between using a cover crop and not. And that translated in 2022 in a difference in irrigation water use, where the conventional treatment used far more water than any of the cover crop treatments, and it affected the number of irrigation events that were used as well. Okay, and then as I was irrigating last year in 2022, I thought to myself, there's no way that the ones that aren't irrigated will keep on pace with the ones that I'm irrigating more, because I suspected that the ones receiving more irrigation water were demanding more irrigation for increased yield. But that wasn't the case. Here are the ones that received zero irrigation last year, and they are on par as far as yield with all the other treatments. So in conclusion, soil moisture is increased by cover crops, but irrigation savings do not occur when you have a lot of precipitation. But when it's a more of a normal year in this area, cover crops can improve both soil moisture and reduce irrigation water use. As far as future research, I think that we need to spend more time with this before we can actually suggest any recommendations based off of it. But the research that we've done so far is pretty promising. So there's some references, and if you have any questions or comments, I'll take those. Yes.
I have one. Will you go back to the graph where you have the soil moisture tension before the first
one?
Yeah, for the first irrigation? Have you tried to plot the same graph just before or during flowering when the water demand will increase, and how those values?
This would be during flowering.
The first irrigation was during flowering.
Yeah,
okay.
and that that's just based on when rainfall is less and the water is just using more. So, but that's a decent comment to use the crop stage. Okay. Based on that, that would be.
This was the point where it wasn't out of whack yet. There's no other irrigation. So once we irrigate, or he irrigates reduced till, then that could be wetter because it was irrigated and these weren't. So this is prior. That's one reason why it's prior to irrigation.
Okay.
But he can go into more of this, looking at season long average moisture. That's another way we could look at that.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Plug in the growth stations.
And
plug in the growth stations.
Yeah.
For sure.
Did you see something? It is a heavy rainy area. It's a rainy area.
Mm-hmm.
So it will be better if you plot rain and irrigation. I mean, not soil moisture, rain and soil moisture. Because suppose there was a rainfall even, a couple of days before we made the measurement, it will be a different scenario. Suppose there was no rain for a couple of weeks before we make the measurement, it will be different. You will get different results. So instead of, you have a continuous measurement, continuous rain and continuous soil water, where it stands.
Right.
So you have a good picture.
Yeah, and I agree with that. You know, the thing with this is that I have a data point for every minute during the growing season. And so it takes a lot of analysis to get.
So based on which I think showing that would help answer this question, maybe do you think the moisture differences that we saw is due to better infiltration?
That was my question.
Or more water holding capacity,
or
a little bit of the both, or because having the rainfall and how it reacts and would help with that. Once you start irrigating, it throws that a little bit out of balance,
right?
As far as and analyzing that infiltration, but from a rainfall event, it'd be interesting. What do you think?
And you know, this is I've given a lot of thought to it, and we do collect because we have other parts of this study where we're collecting runoff water and we're measuring the amount of runoff water. And during the growing season, I haven't found differences between the treatments. During the off season, like when there's a full cover crop going, there are differences.
There's not a runoff differences in season. Rainfall or obviously just rainfall.
Yeah, just rainfall. You know, because irrigation is, you know, occurring at different times for each treatment, that's hard to capture. But yeah, you know, I think that maybe it's a combination of both improved water capture and water storage. Because what I'm seeing, and this is just, I guess, anecdotal, but I'm seeing better soil structure in the non-cover or in the cover crop treatments than in the non-cover crop treatments. This soil is very very silty and erodible, and it can create a clayey structure really easily.
And you say that, do you have any soil samples collected to look at the soil health? Soil health in terms of carbon, nitrogen, and aggregate stability.
Yeah, no, we don't have. I think the closest that I get to that, and you know, there are other parts of this that are taking like.
Because that question you can answer, at least look at the carbon content and the aggregate stability, you know, that affects soil water content. Again, you know, infiltration effects and holding the moisture.
Yeah.
And another important thing, looking at your picture of cover crops, suppression of soil evaporation, that can be the dominant factor. You know, soil, you're covered. This is like bunch, right?
Yeah.
You know, you're covered.
So there's less evaporation.
Suppression of soil evaporation. That can be an important factor.
Yeah.
Then how do you say that soil water is improved and soil irrigation water use also improved? Do you have any water use measure?
Yes, that's water use. So irrigation water in centimeters per hectare in that first graph, and then the one on the right is irrigation number of events.
Yeah, even that water use means the consumptive use of the plant.
He's talking
irrigation
water use efficiency.
Yeah.
That's what it applies.
For that also there should be a water use measure.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe you are talking about irrigation water use efficiency. How much you irrigate?
Right. Volume of irrigation.
So you stopped when the water potential reaches a particular point.
No.
But the other way around, it started when
this is
Yeah, I do a lot of irrigations, you know. I do want to learn. That's why I'm asking.
right.
It's hard.
It's really hard.
To replicate what we want to do on farm,
Yeah.
but also get the right infiltration, but not just let it run off for so long in a short plot area.
Right.
Go into our justification.
Let's learn on there.
Yeah, and this might be an extreme scenario, but I found that I have a hard time getting water past 6 inches. It doesn't matter how much I apply. So what we've done is tried to match the irrigation application best we can to the infiltration amount. And so we're applying a flat rate. If it's irrigation time, then we apply 2 inches of water.
Yeah, I noticed the difference between rainfall and irrigated water. I saw that last year. I can get 1/10 of an inch of rain and I can get a trigger sensor or sensor to trigger. But I can put out 3 inches of water and get nothing. Yeah. So.
And yeah, I have seen that. Rainfall water is always better.
Best.
Plants like it better. And one thing to note when you receive 1 inch of rainfall versus 1 inch of irrigation, the rainfall is being applied uniformly to the entire field, whereas irrigation is applied in the furrow. So
Did you see
furrow flow rate?
any evidence or differences in the infiltration cost? Because I've always thought at least if you have something on the ground to slow the water down, then you're going to increase infiltration. Just physics alone will even hear out the.
So the bottom line here is no-till produces more or less equal in yield. That's what you're.
Bottom line is that when you use cover crops, we're seeing lower soil moisture or higher soil moisture. So
Very cool study. I'm happy to see something.
I'm just starting a no-till study with cotton this year. We just planted. It's a large scale study.
Yeah.
No, not small. Just started.
Right.
All right, we have one more question online. Why are some significance tests set at 5% and others at 10%?
Oh yeah.
Nico's gotta have his staff question.
Yeah. Yes. So. You know, and I should fix that. That's this. Are you still sharing that?
I am still sharing.
Okay. That's that parameter right there. And I need to fix it because the p-value on that is actually 0.06 something. And I felt that it was that 0 should be significantly different from 8 centimeters. And so we went ahead with the and use the 0.06